Adhishthata Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantharat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 13, entitled Brahma Stealing the Boys and Calves, texts 38 and 39. Just read, okay, we'll read the first. Text 38. Thinking in this way, Lord Balaram was able to see with the eye of transcendental knowledge all that these calves and Krishna's friends were expansions of the form of Sri Krishna. Purport: every individual is different. There are even differences between twin brothers. Yet when Krishna expanded himself as boys and calves, each boy and each calf appeared in its own original feature, with the same individual way of acting, the same tendencies, the same color, the same dress, and so on. For Krishna manifested himself with all these differences. This was Krishna's opulence. Okay, so text 39. Nam, not, ete, these boys. Suraisha, the best of the demigods. Rishaya, great sages. Na, not. Cha, and. Ete, these calves. Tvam, you, Krishna. Eva, alone. Bhasi, are manifesting. Isha, O Supreme Controller. Bhit Ashraye, in the experience of varieties of difference. Api, even. Sarvam, everything. Pritak, existing. Tvam, you, Krishna. Nigamat, briefly. Katham, how. Vada, please explain. Iti, thus. Uktena, having been requested by Baladev. Vritam, the situation. Prabhuna, having been explained by Lord Krishna. Baladev. Avait, understood. Translation and purport. Oh, okay, let's chant, yeah. Naite suresh atrayo nachaite. Naite suresh arishayo nachaite. Tvam eva bhashisha bhid ashrayepi. Tvam eva bhashisha bhid ashrayepi. Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti. Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti. Uktena vrittam prabhuna bhalo vait. Uktena vrittam prabhuna balo vait. Naite Suresha Rishayo Nachaite Tvam eva bhashisha vidashrayepi Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait Naite suresha rishayo nachaite Tvam eva bhashisha vidashrayepi Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait Naite suresha rishayo nachaite Tvameva bhashisha vidashrayepi Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait. Mataji? Naite suresha rishayo nachaite Eva bhashisha vidashrayepi Sarvam pritak tvam nigamat katam vadeti Uktena vrittam prabhuna balovait. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Baladev said, O Supreme Controller, these boys are not great demigods as I previously thought, nor are these calves great sages like Narada, nor I can see that you alone are manifesting yourself in all varieties of difference. Although one, you're existing in the different forms of the calves and boys. Please briefly explain this to me. Having thus been requested by Lord Baladev, Krishna explained the whole situation and Baladev understood it. Purport. Inquiring from Krishna about the actual situation, Lord Balaram said, My dear Krishna, in the beginning, I thought that all these cows, calves, and cowherd boys were either great sages and saintly persons or demigods, but at the present it appears that they're actually your expansions. They are all you. You yourself are playing as the calves and cows and boys. What is the mystery of this situation? Where have those other calves and cows and boys gone? And why are you expanding yourself as the cows, calves, and boys? Will you kindly tell me what is the cause? At the request of Balaram, Krishna briefly explained the whole situation, how the calves and boys were stolen by Brahma, and how he was concealing the incident by expanding himself so that people would not know that the original cows, calves, and boys were missing. Balaram understood, therefore, that this was not Maya, but Krishna's opulence. Krishna has all opulences, and this was but another opulence of Krishna. At first, Balaram said, I thought that these boys and calves were a display of the power of great sages like Narada. But now I see that all these boys and calves are you. After inquiring from Krishna, Lord Balaram understood that Krishna himself had become many. That the Lord can do this, it is stated in the Brahma Samhita 5.33, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam. Although he is one, he can expand himself in so many forms. According to the Vedic version, Ekam Bahushyam, he can expand himself into many thousands and millions, but still remain one. In that sense, everything is spiritual because everything is an expansion of Krishna. That is, everything is an expansion either of Krishna himself or of his potency. Because the potency is not different from the potency and the potent are one. Shakti, Shaktimator Abheda. The Mayavadis, however, say Chid, Achid, Saman, Vaya. Spirit and matter are one. This is a wrong conception. Spirit, Chit, is different from matter, Achit, as explained by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 7:4-5. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano buddhir evacha ahankara itiya me bina prakritir ashtada aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayadam dharyate jagat. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, altogether these 8 comprise my separated material energies. But beside this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind which consists of all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. Spirit and matter cannot be made one, for actually they are superior and inferior energies. Yet the Mayavadis or Advaitavadis try to make them one. This is wrong. Although spirit and matter ultimately come from the same source, they cannot be made one. For example, there are many things that come from our bodies, but although they come from the same source, they cannot be made one. We should be careful to note that although the Supreme Source is one, the emanations from this source should be separately regarded as inferior and superior. The difference between the Mayavad and Vaishnava philosophy is that the Vaishnava philosophy recognizes this fact. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, therefore, is called Achintya Bheda Bheda, simultaneous oneness and difference. For example, fire and heat cannot be separated, for where there is fire, there is heat, and where there is heat, there is fire. Nonetheless, although we cannot touch fire, heat we can tolerate. Therefore, although they are one, they are different. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Naite Suresha Rishayo Nachaite Tvameva Bhashisha Vidachrayepi Sarvam Pritaktvam Nigamat Katam Vadeti Ukte Navrittam Prabhuna Balo Vait. Lord Baladev said, O Supreme Controller, these boys are not great demigods as I previously thought, nor are these calves great sages like Narada. Now I can see that you alone are manifesting yourself in all varieties of difference. All the one you're existing in the different forms of the calves and boys. Please briefly explain this to me. Having thus been requested by Lord Baladev, Krishna explained the whole situation and Baladev understood it. So in this verse we can understand that Lord Baladev had some idea of cows, calves and boys not being exactly the ones and the same that they used to be. Because it is pointed out here that he thought of them being great demigods and like great sages. So, originally boys and calves, those who are manifestation of the internal potency, are eternally having that, or are manifestation of that eternal potency. Now here, then we may bring into the question, can there be some other boys and calves, like gopis, for example, which are not Nitya Siddha gopis, that there could be calves and boys which are not Nitya Siddha, but there are some other calves and boys. So, manifested to assist Krishna's pastimes and to enter, having that kind of desire, having that kind of rasa, to enter into Krishna's pastime and also relish such kind of mood and exchange with Krishna as the boys and calves which are manifestation of the internal potency relish. So that might be there, but it's interesting. This is first time actually that Lord Baladev, it is pointed out that he thought of them being great demigods. So it's kind of interesting. And then he thought of it as such. So to fully clarify his bewilderment, then he approached Krishna and requested him to disclose what actually had taken place and what actually has transpired. So because Lord Baladev is a manifestation of Krishna, therefore he is something produced or something manifested from the source. That means the source is always greater than the manifestation. So in that sense we can understand that Krishna, as the source, is always greater and can have and has the greater potency than anything else that is expanded from him. So in this way he can bewilder even Baladev. He can bewilder even Balaram. In general, through different pastimes, we understand that Balaram is not bewildered. He knows Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is nothing that can happen to him. Like for example, when there was a Kaliya pastime, and then Krishna was caught in the grips of the coils of Kaliya, and everybody, all the Vrajavasis practically, they fainted because they thought, what will happen to Krishna? Now he's in the grips of Kaliya and he may die. Kaliya may kill him. And they, being affectionate towards Krishna and being in such an anxiety, they almost left their bodies. So they fainted. But Balaram wasn't disturbed. He was thinking, then what can happen to Krishna? There's nothing that can happen to Krishna. Krishna is only playing, it's just sporting. So Balaram was very clear in such kind of circumstance what is going on. But even at some other points, at some other times, other pastimes, actually Krishna can bewilder Balaram. Like in this pastime, and of course in the pastime sometimes when there is a midday time and the cowherd boys are with the calves, and suddenly Krishna just disappears and he goes where the gopis are at Radhakund and spends time with them, and Balaram doesn't notice this. He doesn't notice, he's just engaged with the cowherd boys and the cows, and he doesn't notice this. So Krishna can also bewilder Balaram like this. He doesn't even know where the Krishna is. And of course Krishna manifests sometimes later, and then as if nothing had happened, but Krishna had been somewhere else, doing something else. So Balaram can also become covered by Krishna's internal potency. And for the sake of such kind of wonderful and amazing pastimes, Krishna therefore employs that potency, so that even, as we can see here, Lord Balaram can become bewildered. I mean, what to speak of Balaram, Krishna can also become bewildered himself. But, of course, he knows. He simultaneously knows and simultaneously he doesn't know what is going on. So for the sake of particular relationship, for the sake of certain kind of expansion of an exchange of relationship, therefore he puts himself in that apparently bewildered condition. Because if, let's say, Mother Yashoda and Krishna, and if Krishna wouldn't be afraid of Mother Yashoda, then what kind of pastime would that be? Yeah. So he really feels afraid. So therefore he can also be, for the sake of the pastime, covered with the Yoga Maya, with that internal potency. So Balaram is therefore here pointing out that by the knowledge of that internal potency, by knowing it to be such, that I have understood then what is going on. In the previous verse, this is explained here that he was able to see by the eye of transcendental knowledge. He was able to understand what is going on. So therefore we see how having the knowledge, transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge, will enable one to perceive things as they really are in its original form. But because of illusion, we don't perceive things as they are. We mistake something to be what actually it's not. That's what means Maya. Maya means not that. We have some conception, some idea that something is what we may perceive as something, but actually it is not. It is something else, it is something different. And then Yoga Maya, it has a completely different function. It's not function of trying to just bewilder us, trying to just kind of punish us, trying to somehow mislead us. No, the potency actually, this external potency of the Lord, it's meant to actually help us come forward towards Krishna. But because we misuse our desire, and therefore we desire to exploit this external potency of the Lord, then therefore that external potency of the Lord has to bewilder us, so that we may think that this is actually possible, which is not. But this is not a function of the real function of this energy. The real function is somehow to try to bring us closer, to assist us. But because we desire, we want it to be an illusion. We want it to become bewildered. So therefore then material energy manifests different opportunities, different circumstances where we can become bewildered. Like for example, there is a choice if somebody wants to drink liquor or not. There's a choice. And then if one develops such a desire to drink the liquor, then he will drink the liquor, and then what will happen? He'll become bewildered. He'll definitely, end up in illusion. Like last marathon, we were on Dadar Bridge distributing books, and actually it's not, some kind of rare case, but quite often there come people who are pretty drunk, pretty much in that drunken state, and they're bewildered. And then sometimes they create also some nuisance and disturbance, and then we have to deal with them, and it's a distraction. But they chose, they had a desire to put themselves in such kind of illusion. They chose that. So what does material energy do? Material energy just facilitates such kind of bewilderment. Otherwise, it's not that material energy wants us to become bewildered. No, we want it to become bewildered. We misuse our desire, and therefore material energy just facilitates. And this is how often she actually tests us. Whether we really, due to certain desires, whether from previous lifetimes even, or something recent, do we really want to get involved? Do we really want to be engaged in something? And she is facilitating, she is providing, she is pointing out, here it is. Here is something that you desired. So do you want to still become involved with this? Do you still want to obtain something like this? Do you still want to exploit some of it? So material energy just facilitates. In this way, she kind of throws different kinds of options. That's why it is said she has that potency of throwing, covering. So she throws, but unless we have the desire, that covering, it's not going to affect us actually. So one can always choose whether to be covered or not to be covered. It's just a matter of desire. That's all how the material energy functions. It's just a matter of desire. So of course, for the sake of Krishna's pastimes, we see that various living entities, and even those who are manifestation of the internal potency of the Lord, they desire to become actually covered by Yoga Maya, because they want to relish those particular moods and pastimes that Krishna performs, because otherwise that wouldn't have been possible. You see, like in the pastime of Lord Shiva, becoming bewildered by Mohini Murti, he desired. He knew that the demons have become completely bewildered. They're really bewildered by that potency. Actually, it wasn't even internal potency, it was external potency of the Lord. They have become completely bewildered. Of course, Mohini Murti is the internal potency, but it wasn't necessary to manifest the internal potency. It was just sufficient just to present the form, which is actually just the form, the bewilderment of the external potency. So just by the form they became bewildered, thinking that actually she appeared only for me. And in that sense they became to quarrel amongst each other, and they lost that pot of nectar, and they thought, if we give this nectar to Mohini Murti, then she will agree, and she will agree to be exploited by me, by us. So they were just bewildered by very easily, just by Mohini's form and her sweet words, which she expressed that I may trick you, I may cheat you. And still, they didn't trust her. They didn't trust her because they were so bewildered. They were so bewildered by her glances, by her words. And this is how actually all of us become bewildered by external potency of the Lord. And then hearing of this pastime, Lord Shiva also desired that actually I would like to see, I would also like to experience, what is this? What kind of form is this that the Lord had displayed to bewilder the demons? Because it seems that it was just very, very amazing form. And I definitely cannot become bewildered because I have seen Lakshmis and I'm, my Shakti, Durga or Parvati, definitely I'm not bewildered by her. So it just had that curiosity, that what is that form? What is that form of the Lord? And of course suddenly, just some distant in the forest, at the edge of the forest, there appears that the form playing with the ball. And it's not just the form, because Vishnu was thinking how to bewilder Lord Shiva. He's definitely not a personality to be easily bewildered. Like Lord Balaram, actually, Lord Shiva, he's also Purusha. He's also Purusha. As Sadashiva, he's also Purusha. But also as a Balaram, he sometimes acts as a Jiva. Jiva means servitorship. That is the eternal position of the Jiva, to eternally serve the Lord. Of course, Balaram, it's Purusha. But he sometimes assumes that mood, whereas Lord Shiva mostly it is in that mood of a devotee. Although he is Purusha, but he is in the mood of devotee. He is in the mood of serving the Lord. So the Lord therefore manifested in a same way, but he thought that there has to be something more subtle, something more potent, something more bewildering, so that I can bewilder Lord Shiva. So therefore he started explaining different kinds of gestures and different kinds of acts. And we know as Mohini was playing with the ball and glancing at Lord Shiva, so that Lord Shiva became completely unaware that actually even in front of his wife Parvati, he became so attracted to the Mohini Murti. So it's not just the form. The form can be viewed from different perspectives. It's not just the form of a lady, the form of a woman. It's like for the father, for the husband, for the son, it's the same form. But it's about the mood that it's manifested. It's a whole different mood. What kind of mood it is? So the mood that it's displayed in a particular rasa, it's completely different. So this is why Lord Vishnu was thinking what is the mood that should be displayed to bewilder Lord Shiva? Like in different moods, we know that Purusha avatars, it's the same personality but displaying different moods, then it assumes different forms. As a creator, as Hiranyagarbha, as a destroyer, Rudra, and as a maintainer, Vishnu. So it's just the mood that carries certain type of potency also. So this is how material energy and of course material energy affects us, and this is how internal energy of the Lord in this particular example affected Lord Shiva, so that he became completely bewildered. And then even more so, what is interesting, that he was running after Mohini Murti through so many different forests and mountains and different places everywhere, and on purpose Mohini Murti was going to different ashramas of the sages which were there. And what is interesting, they were not bewildered. They were not bewildered because of that mood. The mood was different. The mood displayed towards them was different. It's not the same thing that she displayed towards Lord Shiva. Like in the pastime of King Chitraketu, Lord Shiva was sitting, and on his lap also there was Parvati being seated, and then Chitraketu, when he saw that, he thought, oh, how amazing this is. But he had such a thought, not the sages. Sages didn't have such a thought. No. They didn't consider this is something that should be considered inappropriate, or, of course, even King Chitraketu, he was kind of in a joking mood. So he had, it just had a different perception. So like this, when we come to this material world, when we display such kind of desires of exploiting this material energy, then material energy just facilitates, creates this different type of illusion, so that we may think that actually we can enjoy this energy, that we can control this energy. And the most extreme form of such kind of enjoyment and control of this material energy is, as Srila Prabhupada here in the purport describes, the Mayavadi philosophy. Because it is just an extreme position of a living entity thinking that he is controller and enjoyer. And then actually to that extent that he can become, or he is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is something that Srila Prabhupada again here points out. It's absolutely incorrect. It's something that is completely wrong, because living entity can never become the Supreme. It is just absolute manifestation of the bewildering potency of external energy of the Lord. Like we know, the Lord Shiva, he was exposed to that internal bewildering potency of the Lord. And he also comes to bewilder living entities presenting this philosophy. Mayavada asat shastram prachanam baudam uchate. In Padma Purana, this is explained, that the Lord requested Lord Shiva, please, you take the form of Shankaracharya and then present this particular philosophy to those who are attracted to the Vedic culture, but actually don't want to serve the Lord, they want to become a Lord. So therefore, to maintain the purity of the bhakti process, present this particular philosophy so that they might be attracted to it. And of course, the whole purpose and the mission was that the Vedic knowledge would be restored again. Because of Buddhism, the Vedas have been rejected, and practically Mayavad philosophies or Advaita philosophy is nothing else but Buddhism. It's same, either it's Nirvishesh or it's Shunyavadi, whatever, any of those. It's the same thing, but at least what Shankaracharya did, he introduced the Vedic knowledge so that there is the basis for transcendental and eternal theology. And that is that we accept that there is a basis, that there is foundation, that one can accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who he actually is. So that was a very important mission that Shankaracharya played. He himself actually, he pointed out Narayana Paravyaktat, that actually there is nothing and nobody else superior than Lord Narayan. It is very interesting that he said even when one in liberated state, when one is even in the liberated state, he will become attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. He can become. This is stated in his commentary on the Simhatapani Upanishad. And then of course we have so many stotras which he wrote in the praise of Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Jagannath, Krishna, so many wonderful, Santa Kadachit Kalindi, we sing this quite often, so many others, So, and of course at the end, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. So he was a devotee, Lord Shiva is a devotee, but he has a particular mission. He has a particular mission to present particular philosophy. To bewilder those who are not serious actually in spiritual life. They're not serious, they just want to exploit this material energy. They want to exploit Krishna. But how is that possible? Ravana couldn't do it. Nobody can do it. How is that possible? So therefore there is a wonderful philosophy presented for them, at least to somehow maybe follow the culture, if nothing else. And then maybe in the course of time, I just read one yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday we read one verse from Bhagavad Gita, and it's 5:7. Where Srila Prabhupada said, also talks about Mayavadi philosophy. He says that at the end, after some lifetimes, they will also become devotees. They will also become devotees, because they'll definitely, at some point, somehow or other, by becoming in touch with the devotees, they can become purified, they can get that mercy and become devotees themselves. So this kind of philosophy, it's very interesting. Srila Prabhupada, that compares, he says that philosophy is that of a story. He gives a story, he presents the story. He said it's just like the veterinarian, how is it? The one who heals the animals. Veterinarian. And his apprentice, he gives that story. And you must have heard the story. It's a quite known story. When the apprentice wasn't so serious, and then he just ventured for very few times, and then he thought this is sufficient. When he saw also, they came to one particular place, and the farmer had a horse with the neck swollen, and then the veterinarian was examining what had happened, and then he ordered the apprentice, bring the hammer, and he brought the hammer, and he, smashed the neck of a horse, and the horse, of course, the watermelon bursted, and the horse was able to swallow it, and he was relieved. And then the apprentice thought, oh, this is the only way and means, okay, so then now I've, understood what it means, how to heal the animals, and then I just take the hammer, go around, and he was killing the animals. And after some time, veterinarian, he caught him, he said, what are you doing, there's so many complaints, and you're killing so many animals, what are you doing? So then he explained, actually, this was it's just a unique case. It's just a unique case. You don't do that every time in every case. It's a unique case. You can't do this every time. It's just an exception. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada explained that the Mayavad philosophy, it is something that it's to be presented at a certain time. It's not to be followed. It's not to be used always. It's something to be presented at certain particular circumstances. This is what Shankaracharya had come to present it. He actually wasn't willing. This is also described in Puranas, that he wasn't willing to present this philosophy, but because it is necessary. It's not that Lord Shiva comes to bewilder people. Vishnu also comes to bewilder people. He manifests also Lord Buddha. As Buddha, he also bewilders people. So sometimes, according to time, place, circumstance, they present certain type of philosophy which is practically atheism. They present such a philosophy which is practically an atheism. But it has its purpose. And it's an exception. It's not something that should be always followed at all time, places, and circumstances. No. It just has its particular purpose. So Srila Prabhupada, he was very strong that this, like here in the purport, pointing out that this Mayavadi philosophy, it's wrong philosophy. Because how can, everything be one? Although it comes from the same source, but it has different purpose, it has different potency. It's not all the same. It has inferior potency, it has superior potency. He's quoting these two verses, Bhumirapo analo vayud and aparayam itastvanyam kamanam buddhirevacha. It's quoting, pointing out that living entities are superior energy compared to material energy. It's not that spirit and matter are same. They can't be same. They can't be same. That philosophy of Vivartavada, or theory of illusion that Shankaracharya is presenting. But then who is in illusion? Where does illusion come from? How is Brahman transformed? Transformation of Brahman. How does it get transformed? Sometimes Mayavadis give example, it's transformed like when the cow eats grass and then transforms it into milk. It's interesting example, no? But then, what do you think, Srila Prabhupada, how did he resolve that? What did Srila Prabhupada said? Cow eats grass and transforms it into milk. So that sounds like interesting example for Brahman's transformation. So then what did Srila Prabhupada reply? Can anyone guess? Hanuman Prabhu?
The grass remain grass green. Before eating the cow, grass is the grass. And after become milk, The milk is milk. They are two different things. It is not transfer. It is wrong.
Okay. But still there is some transformation.
Milk is white, gran is grease.
Yeah, but it's transformed. That's why they say the Brahman transforms. That's why Srila Prabhupada said, what is Mayavada? They think that Krishna actually assumes certain form, that Krishna, is a product of illusion, comes to a certain form. Okay, I'll just say what Prabhupada's pointed. Yes, you want to try? Huh? Yeah, that's what Srila Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said even bull eats grass, but it doesn't become milk. That's what Prabhupada said. So Srila Prabhupada was very strict, and he was pointing out what is this Yatamat Tatapat philosophy when they were walking here on the Juhu beach very often. First of all, in the beginning, devotees couldn't ascertain whether Dr. Patel is a Mayavadi or a Vaishnava, because so often he would argue with Srila Prabhupada, and there were some heated discussions going on. So then devotees couldn't understand. They approached Srila Prabhupada, and how do we? It becomes sometimes disturbing to us, Srila Prabhupada, and how do we? So Srila Prabhupada said, so he gave the example, he told the story of a man who knew many languages, and nobody could figure out, what is his mother tongue. So he said that one man figured out, he said that suddenly he came from behind and slapped the man. And then the man responded, and then it was revealed what his language is. So he said, this is what should be done. So somehow one has to be put in a shocking circumstance to reveal actually what he was. And of course it was revealed that Dr. Patel actually was a nice Vaishnav devotees. But once there was a heated argument, that there was a group of people coming and joining Prabhupada for discussions. And then there was one person, Mr. Shah, and he said to Srila Prabhupada, that how can you criticize? How can you criticize? So many great saints of India, and he was really blaspheming actually the point, Srila Prabhupada, for 3-4 minutes. And devotees didn't know what to do. Should Prabhupada just restrained and said, no, just... And then they left, and Srila Prabhupada was silent, and then they were coming, and that's when Srila Prabhupada actually decided that from now on, tomorrow, we're going to, there are not going to be any more discussions, we're going to be reading Krishna book. No more discussions. But then actually, when that same day in the morning when Prabhupada came for Guru Puja, a gentleman came and everybody was offering flowers to Prabhupada. He also came, he offered flowers at the Prabhupada's lotus feet, and he became sobbing and crying. He actually felt that he had offended Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. So then Srila Prabhupada, consoled him and then said that don't worry, Prabhupada forgave him. So there were heated discussions, and Srila Prabhupada said, actually there are many saints, but actually they are not saints. It is my duty that the devotees understood what is appropriate philosophy. So we have to point out, these boys and girls, they have to learn what is appropriate philosophy. This is my duty. Prabhupada said, I'm just like the policeman of the state. I have to maintain the law. I have to maintain the purity of the scriptures. So this is why I have to react. So therefore, the Mayavad philosophy is misleading philosophy, because Shankaracharya, we see, he practically never quotes any scripture straightforwardly. In order to present Mayavad philosophy, he has to twist and juggle and so many, it's all interpretation. There's no direct quotation. You can't find direct quotation. You'll find direct quotation of merging, of impersonalism, that's a different thing, but not of Mayavad. Not of Mayavad. We know also Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. So many Upanishads, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Ishvara, Parama, Krishna, Sachitananda Vigraha, same like Brahma Samhita. So many Upanishads point out Krishna's original position, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. And Ananda, there is a bliss, Eko Bahunam, one, and there are many, one and many. It's eternal, Nityo Nityanam, it's eternally. It's not just temporary, it's eternally as such, And I maintain them, I'm the maintainer, they're maintained. You come and Yo Vidadati come, and they have a desire, because they have a desire to fulfill their desire. What is their desire? Desire for bliss, desire for enjoyment. So it's so clear from the Shastra. But then, Shankaracharya also, he commented only on a few Upanishads, not all the Upanishads, just those which he could see that he could somehow or other twist the meaning. There is no direct presentation of the philosophy. Of course, as we said, he was a devotee of the Lord with a, well, actually ungrateful position, ungrateful mission to fulfill. Ungrateful mission. But his followers were just like that apprentice. That's what they're doing. They're just killing everyone's spiritual life practically, like that apprentice were killing all the animals around. That's what they're doing. They don't have a proper position of understanding of the scriptures. So that's why Srila Prabhupada pointed out, I have to teach, I have to present what is actually reality. And therefore he was intolerant of such kind of misinterpretation. Yeah. There was once one Mayavadi who visited Srila Prabhupada in Bhaktivedanta Manor, and then he presented certain, also just when he was leaving, on purpose actually, deliberately, he left the whole stack of pamphlets describing doctrine of oneness. And then Prabhupada saw this, and then they just kept it. And then afternoon, when Srila Prabhupada usually would sit down and Maha fruits would have been brought and Srila Prabhupada would distribute the fruit. Suddenly he said to the devotees, he pointed out, please bring those pamphlets in the morning that the gentleman had left. And the devotees were bewildered. What now? This is all Mayavad philosophy. What are we going to do now? And then Srila Prabhupada said, distribute to everyone. And everyone was like, okay, now, well, I guess we'll have to read this. And then Srila Prabhupada said, use it as a plate. And he used the fruits and then distributed them. So Prabhupada was very practical and knew how to engage everyone in Krishna's service so that everyone can benefit in their Krishna consciousness. So like this, we all can become bewildered, everyone can become bewildered, whether under Yoga Maya, whether under Mahamaya. That's our choice. It's up to our desire. And according to that, actually, then we can have eternal blissful life in Krishna consciousness, or we can suffer as we are suffering pretty much right now in this material world. So it's our choice. It's our choice. But Krishna, due to his mercy, he can help us. And material energy also, or internal energy, it can help us, or it can bind us somehow or other to give us some hard lessons to learn, to understand what our original position therefore is. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Any comments or questions? Hanuman Prabhu.
If we come to the Mayavadi, why should not listen to the Mayavadi? Why should tell him that close your mouth, don't talk anything. If you don't know about Krishna, don't talk.
Yeah. Okay, that's a comment. Thank you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the nice class. The difference between material energy and spiritual energy, is it only for the jiva that they are different?
It's only for the jiva.
And it is same for the Supreme Lord?
No, it's for the jiva. For Krishna, it's all the same. He doesn't make it doesn't differentiate. Prabhupada gives example of different departments of government. For governments, they're all same. Whether prison or educational, it's all the same. Even for internal energy, that's why they're always internal energy. Those who are manifested like eternal associates of the Lord, they're never under influence of external energy. They don't see the difference. No. They're always in the mood of serving Krishna, and they see Krishna everywhere. Okay, we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.